I always tell myself, oh no, you're not a procrastinator, you're a perfectionist.
Now is the best time to start.
Not tomorrow. Not next week.
Not until next month.
Not next year.
Hello, hi, welcome back. My name is Cherry, and today we have a very interesting topic. We are going to be dissecting what's stopping you from starting. I'm going to be honest with you, this topic is not just for you, it's also for myself, because I am such a big procrastinator, and I always tell myself, oh no, you're not a procrastinator, you're a perfectionist. That's the excuse that I always use to stop myself from doing the things that I said I was going to do. Sometimes I find myself not committing fully, or stopping midway, or just planning a lot. Planning is not bad. That is the best thing that you can ever do. But if you find yourself getting stuck in the planning phase, that's when it becomes a problem. What I've noticed is it's very easy to plan. It's very, very easy to have all these schedules, write down all this to-do lists. It's very, very easy. Or maybe just take a break and get into your head and be telling you all this, telling yourself all these things that you want to do. But the reason why you can get stuck in the planning phase is because the actual doing is what's uncomfortable. Planning is so comfortable. So get out of that planning phase. I know you've been planning to do this for a very long time, because I know I've been planning to do even this whole YouTube thing for a very long time, but it's been stuck in planning phase for a very long time, because planning is the easy bit. Actually doing is the difficult bit, which brings me to another reason why we procrastinate or get stuck in the planning phase is because we know what is required of us to actually do the things. The effort, the time, the strength, the resilience, the determination, and it's so scary. It's so scary to do all those things. So instead of actually doing them, we choose to plan them and tell ourselves that oh no, I'm not just sitting, I'm actually planning. I'm doing something, I'm making a move towards the thing, instead of actually doing the thing, because it requires you to become a different person. It requires you to get out of your comfort zone. It requires you to be very, very uncomfortable. But I'm encouraging you to sit in that uncomfortability for it might be for a while. It might be for a while. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that it's going to be easy. It's going to be for a while, but once you get the hang of whatever it is that you want to do, it's going to become easier. That much I know. Another thing that has recently revealed itself to me is that the longer you delay starting, the longer you delay your growth. Now, what do I mean by that? I'll use myself as an example. I'd been planning to start a YouTube channel for a very long time, for a very, 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 very needlessly long time. And I kept telling myself, oh, I needed this, I needed that, I needed this, I needed that, and all those things. I had a long list, of course, a to-do list. I'd been planning, I think, for way too long, way, way, way too long. And had I started sooner, I feel like I would have learned the type of lighting maybe that I need. I would have learned how to use my camera better and get the best quality out of it. I would have learned a lot, but because I kept putting it off, I'm only starting to learn all those things now. But thankfully, because I've started now, I know for a fact that my audio needs improving, but I would never have known that if I'd stayed in my head, if I'd stayed planning and not actually doing. I have more knowledge of what's required of me to do the things that I actually want to do. I have more knowledge than I had last week. I have more knowledge than I had last month. But I'm not where I want to be, but I'm one step closer, because I've closed my to-do list and I'm actually doing it. I know I speak for many when I say starting is not the actual issue. It's the completion which is an issue. So if you're one of those people who pick and drop, one way you can help yourself to actually complete is to dare yourself not to start the next project before you finish this one, the current one that you're doing right now. So instead of moving on to the next project, clear out whatever you need to clear out. Because the more projects you pile on yourself, the more you feel overwhelmed. You feel like, oh my God, there's just so much happening. There's so many moving elements, but there's not much happening, to be honest. It's not much. It's just that you have a backlog of many things that you keep telling yourself, oh, okay, yeah. I'll definitely get back to that. But instead of actually just processing, or instead of actually just finishing a project, moving on to the next one, finishing a project, moving on to the next one. That could be a way that you sort of take away the feeling of being overwhelmed, because when you feel overwhelmed, the anxiety can be crippling, and then you end up not doing anything because you just feel like there's a lot of things that you need to be doing. So instead of just thinking, dive in headfirst and just do it. I know I just mentioned in my previous point that you need to dare yourself, but sometimes we find it easier to hear things from other people. So you can find someone else to dare you. A friend of mine and myself, we recently started a challenge where she dares me to do something that I've been talking about for a very long time, and I do the same thing for her, because sometimes it's easier to be accountable to other people than to ourselves. I know how that sounds, but it can be very helpful to be accountable to someone else who is not yourself, because sometimes we do not keep words to ourselves. It doesn't mean that we don't respect ourselves. Of course we respect ourselves, but sometimes we do respect other people's opinions more than our own opinions. So if you have someone you really trust, someone who has your best interest at heart, you can ask them to hold you accountable. Another thing that you need to remind yourself is there is someone out there who is doing the thing that you want to be doing. They are doing it with less resources. They are doing it with less passion than you. They are doing it with the worst circumstances, but they are doing it. So now that's the difference between you and that person. That person can say, I'm a this. I'm a filmmaker. I'm a photographer. I am a content creator, because they are actually doing the thing. You will always feel like an imposter because you are planning it. So that technically you're not the thing. You're not the thing yet, and that person is the thing. And by the time you want to start, that person has already progressed in many ways that you have to play catch up. Maybe you were going to be ahead of that person. Not that life is a competition, but maybe you're going to be bigger than. Maybe you were going to be bigger than that person. Maybe you were going to have a bigger platform than that person. But because you have delayed your process by this many months, this many years, that person is now far off, and they've learned from actually doing, which is the point of this whole thing. It's starting, learning what needs to be improved. After you start, you can't know what needs to be fixed. You can't know how you can get better until you start. So you need to start. Another favorite when it comes to excuses not to start is thinking that timelines actually matter. What do I mean by this? It's telling yourself that I'm going to start on a Monday. It's telling yourself that instead of starting at say 11:32, I'm going to start at 12 o'clock. Instead of starting on a Tuesday, you want it to be a Sunday. You want it to be this day, this very perfect timing, but there is no perfect timing. The concept of time is just a construct. It doesn't mean anything. Just start. The time you start does not matter. It doesn't have to be an even number or an odd number. I know this from experience. I'm the type of person who will look at the time and be like, oh, okay, it's currently 2:50, so I'm going to wait 10 minutes so that it can be exactly 3 o'clock. And then I'll start exactly at 3 o'clock. And then when it's like, oh, maybe just a minute past 3 o'clock, I'm like, that's not really perfect timing to start. So let me wait for it to become maybe 3 or 5 or something, something like that. I know it sounds very ridiculous. Even as I'm saying it, it sounds very ridiculous, but I know I do this. I do this a lot. You think that you're buying yourself time, or you're going to be better, you're going to be in a better mental space, but trust me, you're just wasting time. You're wasting much precious time. None of that matters. What matters is that you start, and you start today. You don't start tomorrow. You start now. You don't start on the 1st of the month or the 1st of the year. We know how that goes. We know how that goes. We always say, oh, you know, new year, new me, but there is no demarcation that says, okay, you're starting a new year, so everything is going to be different. Start now and start today. There's no better time than now. If you keep on planning, if you keep on waiting for things to be perfect, that little voice in your head is going to start telling you, oh, you know, maybe we're not good enough. Maybe this is not the right timing. Maybe if we do it next year, if we do it the year after, or if we don't do it at all, what you're trying to save yourself from is actually the work, putting in the work. So I dare you today to force yourself to start, to hold yourself accountable, or to find someone who you can be accountable to stop planning so much. You've already planned enough. You've been planning for a very long time. Get out of the planning phase and start doing, because when you start doing is when you start learning. It's when you grow. It's when you see what needs to be improved. Do it. I dare you. If you watched to the end, thank you so much. And if you found this video helpful in any way, shape or form, you can like, you can comment, and tell me the things that you're actually doing. Not the things that you're planning to do, the things that you've actually started doing. Until next time, peace and love and light and all the good things.